The story begins by showing a secret base called Phobos, located in space. The scientists there seem to be conducting experiments on a pair of red and black stones inscribed with strange characters. Then the scene shifts to Earth, specifically in Nevada, where another lab is located. A person with curly hair is shown, who appears to be a test subject. It turns out this lab also has a pair of red and black stones, identical to those in space. They activate the gate, and the curly-haired person steps through. Instantly they are transported from Nevada to Phobos in no time. It seems the stones function as a teleportation gate. The scientists celebrate the success, but suddenly something happens to the curly-haired person. The scene then shifts to a woman who appears to be ill. She gives a necklace to her daughter and says, "I will always be there to protect you." Then a woman named Joan wakes up from her sleep. It is shown that she holds the rank of lieutenant. She is greeted by artificial intelligence named Daisy, who says they will arrive at their destination, Phobos, in 3 hours. Meanwhile, the Space Marines are seen joking around, talking about the ship's captain who searched their belongings while they were in deep sleep. Soon after, Joan comes over, but the Marines quickly leave, saying it's time for a meeting, leaving Joan and a scientist named Dr. Bennett. It turns out Dr. Bennett is Joan's ex-boyfriend. They chat about their journey this time to Phobos, and it's revealed that this is their first time going there. Dr. Bennett is excited about going to Phobos, but not Joan. She considers it a nightmare. The scene then shifts to two scientists named Dr. Malcolm Betruger and Dr. Ahmet, who are arguing because of the condition of the curly-haired person after passing through the teleportation gate. Dr. Ahmet seems unwilling to continue the experiment because he doesn't want any more casualties like the curly-haired person. But Dr. Betruger insists on the benefits of his research and decides to go through the gate himself. Then we go back to the Marines, who are discussing their mission on Phobos. It's explained that Phobos has 3 different levels. The first level serves as an office, the second level as a computer server, and the third level as a laboratory and nuclear reactor. The core of their mission is to secure the facility on Phobos, but a man named Winslow disagreed with their mission this time and got into a quarrel with Joan, but the captain managed to calm them down. Long story short, Dr. Betruger and his team were preparing to teleport again. Dr. Betruger entered the gate, and something unexpected happened. The power went out, forcing them to use backup power. When the woman tried to help the others, suddenly the sound of a monster was heard, and it attacked her. The Marines finally arrived at Phobos. Captain Morgan communicated with the people there, but there was no response. They only received an emergency transmission from Phobos and found a way to enter through the emergency door of the base. Captain Morgan explained the emergency situation that Phobos was facing. They received the last transmission from Phobos, which sounded like a frightening whisper. When the connecting bridge was lowered, there was a disturbance with Daisy, and their ship encountered problems. Daisy had to regain control of the system, but they managed to enter Phobos. Dr. Bennett checked the power and found that Phobos only had 2% power left, meaning they only had an hour and a half before Phobos would be destroyed. They were forced to split into 2 teams. Bennett's team went to the nuclear reactor, while Joan's team headed to the server to reclaim the base's systems. Joan's team, they reached the server room. There they found the body of a sergeant. Joan didn't forget to take the access card from the body. One of the team members found strange writings on the wall. After identifying them, it turned out to be Sumerian script from 2000 BC. Daisy managed to interpret the writings, which read, "We will come back to reclaim what should be ours," or something like that. Joan's team continued their exploration until one of the team members found a zombie eating the flesh of a victim. The zombie attacked him, which led to his demise. Winslow arrived there and was immediately attacked. But fortunately, he quickly shot the zombie. Meanwhile, Bennett's team arrived at the agricultural area. There they found a female scientist named Veronica and a pastor. When the other scientist tried to explain something, she was suddenly attacked by a zombie and killed. Daisy then acted by turning off their communication devices so they couldn't know each other's situation. This situation was exploited by the zombies to attack. The Marines were picked off one by the ferocity of the zombies. Long story short, the 2 teams finally met again. Joan asked about the captain's whereabouts, only to find out that the captain had been left behind and attacked by zombies. Joan tried to help, but unfortunately it was too late. The captain had already been killed by the zombies. Joan then questioned Dr. Bennett about what was really happening. At this point, Dr. Bennett finally revealed that they had discovered alien life. This statement was confirmed by Dr. Betruger, who was found by a Marine. Dr. Betruger explained everything and asked for their help to take control of the nuclear reactor at the base. However, this was met with opposition from Joan, who chose to return to the ship and leave as soon as possible. Dr. Betruger had no choice but to follow them. Meanwhile, the ship's captain was attempting to repair Daisy's communication system to re-establish contact with the Marines. However, he was attacked by a mysterious creature. When they arrived at the docking bay, Joan asked Morgan to open the door, but there was no response. Joan eventually asked Daisy to open the door for them. Joan and some of the team members finally boarded the ship. Not seeing Captain Morgan, Joan checked around and found that Captain Morgan was dead. Suddenly, a monster appeared and it could shoot fireballs. Hearing the commotion above, one of them tried to climb up and was immediately killed. The monster then descended and attacked them. Winslow ran away, leaving his teammates behind. Elsewhere, Joan checked the surroundings and found that her teammates were dead. Veronica, who saw what had happened, was in shock. Joan told her to return to the room with Dr. Betruger. Joan then was attacked again by the monster that appeared out of nowhere. Joan was eventually captured by it. When the monster seemed to do something to her, Joan had a brief vision. Fortunately, the pastor came to help Joan, and Joan managed to fight back, killing the monster. But due to the attack, the pastor was also killed. Meanwhile, Winslow and his friend managed to kill the alien monster elsewhere as well. Long story short, they were trapped there because their ship couldn't fly, and they couldn't send an emergency signal for help. Dr. Betruger suggested that if they turned on the base's nuclear reactor, they could go back to Earth through the teleportation portal. The Marines had no other choice but to follow Dr. Betruger's idea. Dr. Bennett tried to warn Joan about it, but Joan said not to worry. She just wanted to turn on the reactor so they could send an emergency signal to Earth, not to use the gate. Long story short, they arrived at the reactor room. Dr. Bennett tried to reactivate the reactor, while Dr. Betruger kept talking, seemingly trying to stir trouble among the Marines. When the reactor was successfully activated, Dr. Betruger said goodbye to Veronica and locked them in the reactor room. The Marines were then attacked by monsters that appeared from nowhere. One by one, they were all killed, leaving only Joan and Dr. Bennett. A dying Veronica whispered something to Joan and handed her an access card. Before she headed to level 4, Joan took the time to collect weapons using the access card from the sergeant's body. When the elevator doors opened, the monster managed to abduct Dr. Bennett. Joan was then met with an unexpected visitor. Upon reaching level 4, she was greeted warmly by the sight of corpses scattered everywhere. Upon arrival, Dr. Bennett attacked Joan. Dr. Betruger tried to use the situation to reopen the gate. Joan was forced to kill Dr. Bennett, who had turned into a zombie. Before it was over, Dr. Betruger attacked Joan. However, Joan managed to grab the gun and shoot Dr. Betruger. Unfortunately, Dr. Betruger rose again, revealing that he had transformed into a mysterious creature and threw Joan into the portal. Suddenly, Joan seemed to be on the planet where the monsters lived. Finally, Joan met the boss of the monsters. The boss threw Joan and called his minions to attack her. The boss said he would return to reclaim Earth, which had once been his. However, Joan remembered that her mother would always protect her. Joan quickly got up and attacked the boss, killing him. Seeing their boss dead, the monsters quickly chased after Joan. Joan was chased by a horde of monsters. She ran to the edge of a cliff, and accidentally the access card that fell opened the teleportation gate. Before leaving, Joan said goodbye by throwing 2 grenades at the monsters. Joan finally arrived back on Earth, where she told them to close the gate immediately. But they refused, saying they were still waiting for Dr. Betruger. Joan rebelled but was sedated by them. The gate reactivated and the film ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.